Welcome back to the show. And now we're getting into air review. And to start with the air review overview, it airs a 2022-23 biographical sports drama film directed by Ben Affleck and written by Alex Convery. The film is based on true events about the origin of Air Jordan, a basketball shoe line of which a Nike employee seeks to strike a business deal with Michael Jordan. It stars Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Jason Bateman, Marlon Wayans, Chris Messina, Chris Tucker, and Viola Davis. It had a budget of 70 to 90 million and brought in 89.1 million into the box office. It also had a 92% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. To start off with this film, to you, Max, like, what were your initial thoughts on a film that kind of, dramatized the events that, really changed the sports world forever when we look back at it?
Uh, yeah, I kind of felt like I didn't really care to watch it, right away because I thought it was just like as
Typical sports movie.
just not typical sports movie, but more like as big as the Jordan brand is, you know, for lack of a better term, here come these white guys trying to profit off of his popularity, and so it's like why tell that story, but after watching it, it kind of makes sense because that is part of the story, but uh, yeah, initially I was kind of like giving it the side eye. I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to, but I mean, I like Matt Damon, so like
Yeah, one of my
Ben
favorite
Affleck too,
actors.
but you can't. I think he's like a
Can't pass up a Matt Damon film.
yeah. Nobody got beat up, so but it is what it is.
Yep, I definitely get that. And another thing, like with these sports films, a lot of times the casting is such a big deal. Like, do you feel as though for this movie, especially when you have a topic like this, one that's so major and influential in the sports industry, do you think it was like it had to be like one of those A-list films where you got some of the best actors and the most wide known, the most well known to really kind of get this film rolling and draw intrigue?
Sorry, repeat that one more time.
No, I was just saying in terms of the cast that was had like an A-list cast. Like, do you think that was one of like the essential things that had to be like had like for them to like draw the intrigue of this, get actors that are really well known, to just kind of draw up intrigue?
Yeah, I mean, because I think if any other way, it would have been a Netflix series.
Yeah, 10 part.
Yeah, you have to. That's one of the things. It's like unfortunate, but at the end of the day, you have to, draw some people in. I kind of wish it was more like basketball heads in a sense, but I don't know. Maybe they, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are, basketball heads, but I mean, I didn't mind them, being that draw and other guys they had in there too, or it was kind of good to see them in the different roles that they played in. Chris Tucker and Marlon
Marlon Wayans.
Waynes.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
the Marlon
Um,
grown up before our eyes. That man about 50. Still think he a little brother.
Man, time. Where does the time go?
Oh yeah.
But now getting to our first topic from 1 to 4 stars, what would you give it? What would be your particular rating for this film and some of your reasons?
Uh, I mean, I like the story overall, and that whole like it's something about believing in somebody like that. That's contagious, Uh, as we see in the playoffs, current NBA playoffs and stuff like that. That level of belief, and you know, I would give it like 3.5. I don't think it was like, oh my gosh. It's more the story that they told that I like. You know, Viola Davis was in it, so you know that's that gives you at least 1 star. Just
Oh
her
yeah,
herself,
you immediately get
gives you
get
one
1 point.
star. Matt Damon gives you another star, but I mean I liked it. I like the story and how it made me feel hearing some of the quotes and things that they said in the movie. And it's like, man, if I was in this situation, I might gone the same route, uh, and yeah, so I'd say 3.5. Uh, and it wasn't that long of a movie either, but I don't think there's more you could have
there's not more you
done.
could have done with
Yeah,
this. With a
yeah,
film like this, there's only so much you can do, and I think everything that they needed to get done, they were able to do that.
yeah.
I would go with three. I think the dialogue drove the film in a major way, and it was just it was entertaining. Had great insight into the history of sports and pop culture, and like we said, I think it got done what it needed to in the right time frame. But now transitioning to favorite character, I would go with Sonny because Sonny displayed just kind of a relentless pursuit. Of getting the deal done with Jordan, signing the first shoe deal, kind of also along with, saving his own drowning basketball department. And I thought Damon just played that character to a T. Who was your overall favorite character in this film?
I mean, I like Chris Tucker's character, but that was kind of like, the he was the cachet guy,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term. But Viola Davis's character, I think, was one of my favorites. It's just like not just a mom who was like, putting her child out there like as a pageant, but like a mom who we almost forget. I think before you know these coaches or these executives can see that it factor these players have. It's the moms and stuff who've been taking them around to tournaments and trainings and stuff. Like what I'm saying, like you want to see as a parent. My kids play sports. You want to see your kids take ownership you know and so she is like the way she talked about him. She just like she owned that role. And that character in particular was just like, yeah, like mom knew what was up before anybody else.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, you know, even one of the quotes in a movie, it's like you're the only other person that know, that he is before the term was before the term him was around. He was
Oh
him.
yeah. He was him.
Yeah,
That's where it started.
and it's like, yeah, it's just like just watching that film breaking, or Sonny is breaking down the film, and it's like there's something different when you see a player relax.
Right.
Like that's
Yeah.
real. Like, and it wasn't like something like,
Very.
oh, this is Hollywoodized. Like, you see it. You see that stuff real time. People rise to the occasion, and so, yeah. Viola Davis' character was one of the ones I like.
Definitely. And now getting into most memorable scenes, I had for a rookie, also Where Are You? Also the I Believe You scene, and then finally I Believe in Your Son. To you, were there any particular scenes in this one that stood out to you, or maybe like a particular moment?
Uh, you know, Definitely when mom called and said, hey, this is we're going to go with you, but here's our term, and it was just like,
Biggest scene of the entire film.
yeah, because it was just like I think it was like I don't know, I'm not savvy enough, film or guy to say. I know there's a term for it, but it was just like a parallel to like, and they foreshadowed it too, where Sonny and the mom's like, we're the only two that get this in the moment, and then that call, everything he's did up to that point to get Jordan, and then that call say, hey, if we get this, so that's why I'm calling you. That's why mom's like, because agents are gonna be agents, but she it's almost like she had to look him in the eye and be like, I'm talking to you because you get it,
Directly.
you
Yeah.
know, and so that was really cool. And then the Air Jordan name part I thought was pretty cool. What's the guy Pete? What's it Pete Moore? Like just coming up with the name, like that character coming up with the name,
Oh
like
yeah.
Air Jordan. Like that was a pretty cool, because I like even when he said, "Oh, who's the player? Who's the shoe for?" And it was just like they didn't show. I'm sure there was like parts that got cut where he's like studying Jordan and testing out the shoes, which is like it's not an action movies. They didn't need that. They didn't need that in there. But it's almost
Nah.
like it almost felt like he did that. He felt like he did that. And so, but the mom accepting the offer and adding the caveat, it was just like it reminds me of a story I've heard of. Shoot, his name slips my mind, but the original Simba voice, uh, like the dude who's saying where Disney offered like I think like 4 million. He's kid, 4 million could have done a lot, but mom was like, "Nah, we want the royalties." And he talks about it where it's like he's up in this till this point he's gotten that and then some, and so it's just like just seeing that you gotta have that vision,
Oh,
and
have
it's
to. Yeah.
and I think
Long
like
term.
yeah, I think that's important, especially with athletes, to have people around you to have vision like that. Like LeBron James is not LeBron James without Gloria James, and there's something Gloria James, that vision she put in him, like you don't just wake up with a vision. You got to learn that. And I'm sure Jordan learned that from his mom too.
Definitely. And now getting to most memorable quotes I had. Don't forget about Nike. Also, play like Magic, dribble like Isaiah. I know you can. I know you can't do what I do. Also, what's your last words? Just do it. And then finally, don't rush into any thoughts. Were there any kind of to you were the standout quotes, or maybe one or two that you thought were the ones that resonate the most with the audience?
Uh, Definitely that. I'm sorry if you just said this too, but we need you in the shoes to give our lives meaning, not not
That's a
so
good
you
one.
can have meaning. That was pretty. That was definitely. I mean, that was a good like. You coming at people and you believe in them. You gotta be in deed and word, and so that felt I felt that one. Uh, and then you eat, we eat.
Yep.
That was a good quote, and and whether or not that's exactly what mom said or whoever, it has paid the dividends
It's
up
paid the
until this
dividends. Yeah,
point because
it
yeah,
worked.
and you're remembered by the rules you break. That was definitely a good one. Uh, that stupid quote, "He jumped so high." I was like, cringe. I was like, everybody felt the cringe. It
Yeah,
was
the
like,
cringe was at all
we
time.
know what you're saying, but yeah, but it's just like you can see the difference when people are like, Sonny's been working at this, and the other guys haven't, and so it's just like you can tell. Uh,
Sonny literally told um, the Jordan family, Jordan's mom, like what the pitch was literally going to be, how they were going to come at it at them,
huh.
and it literally was that same way. Everything he said they were going to do, like that's the way they approached that family.
Yeah, no, that was you know, but that was the thing. That was the blandness of the NBA. All the rules they had, and you only could do this, you only could do that. How long before they let players dunk? You know what I'm saying? Like, every time you gotta break some rules for them to be like, oh, this actually works. and obviously, the rest is history in that regard. So
Mhm.
yeah,
For sure.
yeah, there were a few quotes in there.
And now getting into like what did you like the most about the storyline? To me, how it was able to trace the real life events of the negotiations between Nike and Jordan, just how also visible and clear Jordan initially didn't want to join, but Sonny's persistent and convincing just really paid off in a way that it made Jordan feel as though this was a unique place to be at and an entity to join. What particular element of this storyline did you kind of like the most?
I honestly liked how they didn't like focus on the Jordan character per se. They like the way they hit his
They
face. They
really didn't
didn't
even
make
show.
him.
Yeah, they didn't show his face. Like,
Yeah, they didn't. And I'm not sure if that Jordan just holding on to his licensing of his thing. But I think that aspect kind of like focused on the story. It brought the focus back on that story they're trying to tell, and it kind of like even for when I was saying from the beginning how I was kind of side eyeing the movie. It's kind of like, okay, they're not going to just piggyback off the popularity of you know of Michael Jordan, uh, you know, as a gimmick for the movie, because that's what they do. That's what's going on right now: social media, TikTok, and other things, or they're piggybacking off of people of color, creativity and stuff, and getting popular for themselves. So I like that aspect of it. But like I said, like in the beginning, like that belief, like
Yeah.
the way Sonny believed in Jordan, everything he like. I put my career on the line. Uh, you know, it definitely felt like he's a gambling man, but you know, and then that the way he closed it with that speech was just like it's a contagious feeling. Like I think consistency is important and things that you do that you believe in, and no one else believed in him, but he was consistent, persistent, like he just kept going, like trying to push the story. And then, you know, piece by piece kept coming in,
Yeah.
Phil Cummins like, all right, you can do it. I took a run, you can, like he was talking about, and so it's just like when you are consistent and the work that you put in shows that you believe what you say, like, and then, but just believing in someone. Again, obviously I'm a Heat fan, so I'm gonna keep going back to Jimmy Butler. He's like, but
Could use that analogy.
I haven't seen Jimmy talk like this. Really is like, the belief that this team has in me, and it's like he's not like just giving you basketball cliches or like sports cliches. Like he's he's really like found his place, and it's like
Found his niche.
unlocking himself even more, because like they believe in him. Like, hey, we're gonna fight on the sideline, we're gonna fight in practice, but at the end of the day, you part of the Heat family, and they clearly treat him that way, and that belief they have in him,
Yeah.
and that belief is, like I said, contagious. So he's putting that belief into his teammates. And so with the Jordan, that story, the Air story is like Sonny's belief in. And I think the realization of how big that belief was is when he reaches for the shoe, when Jordan reaches for the shoe, and just the way he's moving it, just like he never seen anything like that. Like that was the first time they ever made the shoe. Like, and I love the one, you make the one prototype, just because that Jordan, that I have a pair of that style Jordan. Like it's a popular look. And everybody's just been able to mimic it, but it's just like, oh man, you can see him starting to believe in
Yeah. It
himself.
was
Like,
visible. Yeah.
like mom can have that belief in Jordan all she wants to, but until
It only goes
Jordan
so far.
believes
Mhm.
in himself, you can see that coming. you know I wish he was more like a LeBron in a sense where he you know gave some of that away,
Yeah.
but
Instead of
you know
keeping it.
but it was the times he was in. You can't be,
Different eras.
yeah, different eras.
Mhm.
So, but
Absolutely.
that made it worth it. Like the movie, like that, just make it like believing in something and being consistent about it, even if people think you're crazy. Like that, that's pretty dope.
Yeah, definitely. And getting to our last topic, 10 years from now, do you still think this will be watchable and intriguing? It's interesting because this film just came out recently. It's going to be one that many people are talking about on Amazon Prime now. People are going to be watching a lot of it, and I think the simple storyline is something that's very easy to. It's very easy to rewatch. Like we said, it's not this long film, very drawn out. Very simple storyline, just reenacting real life events that took place. And I think this cast um, worked really well. Not a 4-star film, but good
Yeah,
enough to be one that you can go back and rewatch. How do you think this movie will age another decade from now?
I mean, I think, I mean, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, Viola Davis, Chris Tucker, they've all made movies that are going to be greater than this. But I think because of their names, it's something you're gonna be like, I'll give it another watch. You know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna, if it's, it's gonna be rotating through the networks. You might give it another watch. Like, yeah, I mean, but like even for me, like I typically don't necessarily go off of like the IMDb ratings, or I mostly kind of, if Rotten Tomatoes certified fresh, I feel like it's usually a good movie.
Yeah,
And like the way people
See,
people are the ones who
I
are
trust
going
the
to it.
Rotten Tomatoes. I trust the right. Savon doesn't trust the Rotten Tomatoes the rating. I trust. I usually trust the Rotten Tomato rating because it's usually
Yeah,
it's saying it's
they
going to be good
haven't.
though.
I just went on there and I saw like another movie like I'd never even heard of. That was 100%. I'm like, I'm gonna have to check this out
I'm like,
and
come on, it's
see
100.
see what's going on.
No misses.
Yeah, I mean, the audience is, the critics are the critics, and you know, depending on what era they're from, they're going to be stuck in a mindset. But the audience is the most diverse critic group that you're going to have, and so if you can get that many diverse people to agree that something is good, I mean, you know, that
It
it's going
says
to
a
be
lot.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
it says a lot, and so I mean, there have been some movies that Ben Affleck has done. It's just been way too long for no reason.
I still will rewatch. I don't know if you've seen The Town, but I still will rewatch The Town any point. I think that's really big.
All right, Joe Missoula.
I, oh yeah,
I like
yeah,
it,
I remember that. I can't say that now because this man watches it 4 times a week.
bro. Like
Wild.
I'll stop on that if I'm like, sometimes I'm scrolling through the networks. If it's on, if it's like on a commercial network, I'm gonna give it like maybe 2 commercials and I'm done.
Listeners, that
It's,
context has completely. Anybody who says they watch The Town now are going to be called Joe Missoula because that man who watches it 4 times.
it's like now
My
put it in
goodness.
action, bro. Like figure out not
You
how
got the
to
game
not
plan.
just yeah, put it in the game plan.
Before we close out, though, I mean, Matt Damon, you mentioned how much you like him as an actor. One of my favorite actors as well. The whole Bourne trilogy, one of my
Yeah.
favorite trilogies. The Departed, another one up there. Like, are there any particular Matt Damon movies you would have as like your top favorites or your go tos?
I mean, the Bourne ones have been it for me. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, I
and
don't,
I gotta admit, Ocean's 11 through 13. I'm a big Ocean's trilogy, Ocean's 11 fan.
yeah,
You
I
killed
almost
that.
forgot about those.
I can't let that. I
Dang.
can't let that slide.
Yeah, between those two, like those two,
I mean, you got 6 that you can go back at any point.
yeah, between the Oceans
You got
and
two
the
trilogies.
Bournes, it's like
Yeah.
I'm good on
I'm
those.
just good off that.
Like
I don't need
I
anything
mean,
else.
I even like We Brought a Zoo.
I remember that one.
That was fun.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Like I just thought him being in Thor was funny. Like it was just that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. But yeah, those two franchises, Oceans and Bourne, like he didn't have to make any more movies after that.
Honestly, yeah.
you know,
Great trilogies there.
yeah, those are definitely pretty dope.
Definitely. Well, that wraps it up for tonight. I'm your host, Wellington Burns. Max, thank you so much for being on. This was an absolute pleasure, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me on, and hopefully you can do this again.
Definitely. Well, that wraps it up for tonight. I'm your host, Wellington Burns. This has been Full Scope. See you later.